So I developed more into coaching and into leadership to help people bring out the best in themselves to do their work better and hopefully have more impact in their work.
So thank you so much, Coach Wouter, for coming here today. It's such an honor for me for having you into my podcast. And also, I do believe that people listening to this podcast will get many inspiration from you. So before we start this podcast, could you tell us about yourself so we get to know you better? Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Damay from Indonesia. I'm so happy to connect with you, and thanks for having me on your show. Yeah, and thank you. I'm happy to share a little bit about myself. So my name is Wouter, and I come from the Netherlands. I have lived in Asia since full time since 1985, so quite a long time already. In fact, I've lived longer in Asia than in my own country. Yeah, I started out thinking that I would want to contribute something valuable to people internationally. And so I always wanted to work outside the Netherlands. That was my idea. And the way I started was as a water specialist. And I learned that water issues in the world, they need a combination of approaches. It's very much a field where you need to be interdisciplinary. So you need engineering and social sciences, and you need various disciplines to help create better awareness and better solutions. And that appealed to me. And then during my work as a water specialist working in Asia, what I discovered was that many water problems are more people problems, because the people working on water projects, their education is usually technical, or it concerns their discipline. But then to develop better projects, better solutions, I discovered that there are many skills that are really essential, which I now call leadership skills, which have to do with interpersonal communication, with being able to make collaboration happen, and to see transformation in behaviors of people and teams and organizations. That we don't learn that, and most of me and my colleagues didn't learn that in their university time or even later. So I developed more into coaching and into leadership to help people bring out the best in themselves to do their work better and hopefully have more impact in their work. So my career has seen a shift, quite a big shift, from international water specialist to leadership coach and trainer. And my vision now is to work to help people bring out the best in themselves, be effective leaders, very much in the 21st century context, all around the world. So I think I've worked with people in 130 or more countries. It's very exciting. And Indonesia is one of those countries. So I'm so happy to be here with you today on your show and to explore some question that you are going to raise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach Wouter. So maybe after hearing your experience before, I know you had successful career as a water specialist, maybe more than 20 years, but you decided to help people to make them a better in leadership journey. So why you in the end like decided to do that? You mentioned before you wanna create the impact, but what's the big reason for you started or created transformation before, like transition career? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, thank you. I I noticed that most of the people I was working with, they were not operating at their best. As we go through our career in life, we have positive experiences, but we also have negative experiences. And when I set up a coaching program for my colleagues, I would have private one-to-one coaching sessions with them, and they would tell me about things that they were struggling with. They wouldn't normally say that, but in the confidentiality of a coaching relationship, they would open up and they would complain about certain circumstances, or sometimes having a boss they didn't like, and all those circumstances, they had impact on them. They were maybe not so confident, or their vision was became smaller because they have so much pressure in their life, doing a job and having a family, and caring maybe for their grandparents, for their parents. As you go through life, there's a lot of challenges and pressures that come, both within your career and outside. So I noticed that they were not really operating at their best. And at the same time, in our work, we wanted to offer our clients the very best experience, and to also help our clients to be leaders of positive change as well. So I thought, they're all experts. In my case, they're all experts in water management, but there are other dimensions of their life and their leadership skills. They were really, sometimes I compared it to seeing cars in the traffic, and then all those cars, they would have dents in them, and they actually needed to go to the garage to get those dents removed so they're beautiful, shining cars again. And then I found that at the personal level, that's what coaching can do through the very simple but important technique of coaching and leadership with a coaching style. We can help people to regain full confidence in themselves, to use their strengths, to develop their vision, and to show up as the better version of themselves, rather than the smaller version of themselves, which is pressured, impacted by all these challenges and pressures that we face in life. And so Damay, what happened is, when I started to do that type of leadership coaching, I noticed that my colleagues, it had a positive impact on them. And then they changed the way they worked with their clients. And then they came back to me to share stories. And those stories were amazing. Yeah, there were stories of discovering new potential, new way of dealing with problems and designing projects. And these were projects that also had large budgets, so they really, really mattered. So when they came back with those positive stories, I thought, this coaching that I'm doing, that I started doing, I was still a newbie in that, it really works. Because it's not only that they are more positive, but they apply it in their work, and then they come back and share with me their stories of having real impact. So then I thought, I want to do more of this, and I want to actually do this full time. So that's when I decided to complete my work at the organization where I worked before, and to set up a leadership practice called transformationfirst.asia. Why that name? Because I learned that to approach life with a leadership perspective, we don't want to complain about others. We don't want to complain about circumstances. Yes, they are all there, but we want to transform ourselves first, to show up as the best we can be. and then to use that, to use the latest science and research in leadership, but also a lot of the wisdom traditions that Asia is so rich in. So that's why the .asia. I didn't call it .com or .org, but I call it .asia to reflect that Asia has so much to offer the aspiring leaders and professionals at all levels, and that includes executives too, to use the best from research and science, but also the best from the wisdom traditions that Asia has to offer. So in that way, we can become a better version of ourselves. We can really change the way we show up and work with our colleagues in our teams, in our office, in our companies. And we can also make much more of a difference for our clients and partners, the people we work with in our job and in our projects. Yeah, what do you think?
So yeah, that's interesting, Coach, because you mentioned before, as a leader, we are facing the difficulties, the challenges. So from your experience before, so what kind of advice that you have to, like, for us as a leader when we facing maybe different teams, or how can we can lead the teams like effectively or in the good way? Because you
Yes.
saying a lot before, yeah.
Yes. So when I discovered this during my career, what it led me to is I became a student of leadership. And maybe those of you who are watching and viewing this and listening to this conversation we are having today, I think it's possible for all of us to step into that space, which is maybe a little bit beyond the normal work we do, because we all have a certain discipline, a background, and a personal backstory also. But that space of leadership development, becoming a leader and becoming, you could say, a better version of yourself, a bigger version of yourself, that's available to all of us. And there's a lot of research that helps us. So in response to your question, I learned that in the spirit of transform yourself first, it's just like you sit in the airplane and the cabin crew is showing you that in case of emergency, the oxygen mask will drop, and then you should put it on yourself first before helping others, right? That's what we always hear. I think that's with leadership too. It always starts with self-leadership. Yeah. So we have to learn some of the basics of leadership. Self-awareness, I would say, is one of the key things we cannot do without. Self-regulation, discipline, what I call leadership hygiene. Because leadership, we may think that it only in our head with our ideas, but it's really, leadership is so much connected with what I would call our body, mind, spirit. Leadership is connected with what we eat, how much we sleep, what's the quality of our sleep, how do we exercise, how do we look after ourselves, our body, but also our mind and our spirit, or some people might call it soul, but the spiritual side of who we are. All of that is connected, and leadership therefore is not just in your job, it's also in your personal life. And in fact, when you work on your leadership, we start with self-leadership by looking at some of those basics.
So we need to start from ourselves first, and then we can help people. So, Coach, maybe in my experience, sometimes I feel like I have imposter syndrome. I know I can do, but sometimes I feel I cannot do. So it is happen also with others leader, like no matter how age they are.
Yes.
Yes.
I discovered through my coaching that imposter syndrome is not limited to age. In fact, I often say that leadership has no age. You know, I work with some leaders who are executives, and maybe they are in Gen X or even boomers. Of course, there are also executives who are much younger, in Gen Y and even Gen Z. And I also work with younger leaders. I also work with high school leaders and college leaders as well. And most of these principles of leadership, as you asked, they apply to all of us, and we can discover them at any age and stage of our life. I would say it makes us a more whole person to allow us to live up the potential that we are all born with, but that potential we have to work to develop during our life. And some people, they are experts and even managers or directors or executives. And maybe in their 40s or 50s, they discover somehow that they're good managers, but not very good leaders yet. So not too late. At that age, you can still learn what it means to develop your leadership in addition to the competencies that you have already developed. But you can also develop your leadership when you're in your teens and your 20s and 30s and 40s. I mean, it really has no age. I would say starting with teens, because you, of course, need a certain level of cognitive development to understand leadership and the principles involved. So yes, it's something that we can aspire to and be open to and start learning and practicing at any age. And there's one thing that's really important about developing our leadership that I discovered and I learned is that we often think of things as a new skill, that we need extra knowledge. But leadership, to grow, to expand our leadership, 70% of that comes from taking on challenges. Now, you mentioned confidence and imposter syndrome. And I said we all have that at different ages, because for once, if we as leaders keep taking on bigger challenges, at every new challenges, we may again encounter some imposter syndrome, like, oh, am I good enough for that? And we have those voices in our head. Yeah, that's very human, because those voices in our head, they try to keep us safe and keep us protected. But then as a leader, we discovered that if we stay in our comfort zone, there is no growth. You know, we feel nice and comfortable, but there's no growth. So leaders always grow and do something amazing when they step out of their comfort zone, like you, Damay, have done many times. So that's one side of imposter syndrome and how to deal with it. There's one more side that I also want to mention, that sometimes when we face imposter syndrome, when you look at it with self-awareness, you're very busy with yourself. You think about, am I good enough? How will I come across? You know, will people believe me? Is what I'm writing, is that good enough? You know, is my video good enough? And if you keep looking at it from that side, you might go into what we call rumination. So rumination is like a negative form of reflection. In the English language, I think we say that you can go down rabbit holes. You go deeper and deeper, and then you know, it's a pretty dark place. Whereas a shift of mindset would be, okay, I'm just going to do this. And I'm not thinking so much about myself and how I feel and that I'm not so confident. I'm just thinking about the people I want to help. I'm just thinking about my vision and what I want to do with it. So when you shift your focus to the people you want to help, you don't have to think about yourself all that much. And I think that also helps to release your imposter syndrome, because you're not so much conscious of yourself, but rather you're more focusing your awareness on the people you want to help and the work you want to do.
I see. So that's the important body, mind, as you mentioned before, body, mind, spirit. So, Coach
Yes.
Wouter, based on that question, so as a leader, so what kind of a lesson that you wanted to give to us as a leader, like we can implement to our daily life, and that you think this is important for us to know about it?
Where to begin? Okay, I would think, I would say that, so first of all, when you think of athletics, to become a runner, leadership is not a sprint. It's not that 10 seconds, that the 100 meters, and then it's all done, you're done. No, it's really like a marathon. And that means that when you take up the challenge of you developing your leadership, be kind to yourself, exercise your self-love, your self-compassion, and also be tough with yourself. You cannot run a marathon without being disciplined and preparing, right? Otherwise, after a few kilometers, for sure, you will already stop. Even the best marathon runners, they still have some time during the race that they say, oh my God, it hurts so much in my legs, and I'm going, maybe I better stop. So the leadership journey, not an easy journey. And I think people in research, but also throughout history, the wise people we know about from the things they wrote, they all said, it's like a journey of 1,000 steps. And it starts with that first step, but you have to be prepared that it is a longer journey. So your discipline, your commitment really matters. Then it's a journey of discovery. So as you grow and as you expand yourself and your new skills, and you learn to lead in different styles, not just in one style, but you expand your skills and your roles and your behaviors, then it's tremendously satisfying, because you keep learning and you make progress and you help other people. So the first part is, it's a longer journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So be prepared, and be prepared to discipline yourself, but also be prepared to experience the excitement, the positive excitement of learning. Not every moment will be positive, because we are human, so we encounter positive emotions and negative emotions. That's natural. But we learn to see the positive better when we step onto that leadership journey. And neuroscience is showing us that when we are more into that positive space where we have positive emotions, that's when our best abilities can come out. Our creativity, our sense of gratitude, our personal strengths. Each of us has unique strengths, so we can bring those out better, can collaborate better, we can listen better to others. So a lot of that stuff comes out when we, during our leadership journey, be in a positive state of mind as often as we can. Well, there's a lot more. Of course, there's so much more to say. But maybe I would say one thing that I discovered that I didn't know before. When I started learning about leadership development, I saw it mainly as an individual exercise. And it's still, that individual side, the self-leadership, is always very important. But then I also learned that when you learn about leadership together, like you are doing in the OMLAS fellowship that you're in, or maybe working in a small team, it actually accelerates your growth too. and it makes it more fun, and it makes it maybe more easy to get through the difficult parts. We all will encounter the ups and downs on our leadership journey. So when you have a strong team and you have the pleasure, the joy of doing things together, and learning to be a leader together, it's better together. So I would summarize that by saying better together, stronger together. And that is what a lot of the a bit earlier research, it focused very much on the individual, but now I think in this 21st century where we are now, collaborative leadership is in many ways, many situations is the way to go. Yeah, so those are a few points of the many.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach Wouter. That's really great. Like, you can go far if you go together, and you can go
Yes.
fast if you go alone. So that's
Yes.
important for having team or buddy in leadership journey. That's
Yes.
really great. Yeah. To closing this podcast, maybe can you say something how things that can make us more confident to lead?
For me, that's what I can share from my experience. It comes down to your behaviors that you keep repeating. In other words, your habits. And that comes down for me to how you structure your day every day and your week. And what I found is that what's really helpful, and not just for me, but for the many leaders that I'm coaching, is to have a reflection practice where you do some reflection every day, and also at the end of the week and at the beginning of the week, to allow you to step back from what you're doing and your emotions and just say, where am I? What is going well? And where can I do better? Or what should I do next week? So I also do that every day. Every day it takes me just maybe 5-10 minutes. So to build a reflection practice into your day and your week is something that really helps to anchor your leadership and to make it strong and steady and to make our confidence bigger. I would say not just our confidence, but also our joy.
Yeah.
Because by reflecting, using positive reflection question, like what went well? Like what went well today? Why is today special? So it asks you yourself to answer that with a positive response, right? Today was special because, I was able to meet up with a friend that I lost touch with for a few months. Today was special because we had a really empowering meeting in the office. Today was special because I was able to finish a report that I care about. Today was special because my dad came out of the hospital. People will answer that question in many different ways, but asking yourself reflection question every day and also every week, like at the end of the week on Friday, you could say, what went well this week? That's a very powerful question, and it focuses on the positive. And then you can say, okay, and what can I do better next week or next time? So I would say what I've seen leaders do and have, I think all of them, they build some kind of reflection practice into their day and their week. Because we're all very different. Some people like to do that in the morning or the evening, or when they're walking the dog, or when they're on the bicycle and they record their reflection using some kind of app, and then another app to transcribe that into text. Or there are so many ways to use technology and to find the right time to do reflection, but they all do it. So that would be my tip.
Thank you so much, Coach, for the tips. So it's like journaling with gratitude. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Coach. It's really great. for having you here, and thank you so much for giving the valuable lesson here. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach.